kchoi, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, I am a full-time change management consultant and I post videos about my career and vlogs from my travels and sometimes other random things like cooking videos or music. I have a lot of different interests, so if any of that interests you, then please do subscribe. I've posted a few videos about consulting and a couple of vlogs taking you through a week in my life, just in my job, and so I get asked a lot of questions. The most frequent ones being, how did you become a consultant? Or what should I major in? I'm about to graduate, what should I do? And while I definitely want to answer those questions and help as much as I can, there are a few caveats. Number one, I am not an MBB consultant, so that refers to McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, which are three of the largest strategy management consulting firms. I'm also not a consultant at one of the big four accounting firms, and I know a lot of people are searching for advice related to those firms in particular, so I can't provide any perspective on that. The second thing is that I did not go into consulting right out of college. I actually worked in public relations for a few years, and I did a video all about PR and talked about my experience in PR, so I will link that in the description box. But because I didn't go into consulting right out of college, my path in education would look a little bit different than somebody who is in college and trying to get into consulting after they graduate. I think my career journey is not so much about how I became a consultant, but more about how I made it possible to switch careers from PR into consulting. So in this video, I'm going to talk through the 5 main steps that I took to switch careers, and hopefully it will give you some inspiration or reassurance if you are also considering switching careers and just need a little bit of help. Those 5 steps are reflect, reconsider, research, plan, and communicate. If you are specifically looking for the topic of this video, you might have already done the first couple of steps, but I'm just going to walk you through my journey as it applies to those steps. Step number 1, reflect. This step is about reflecting on your current career, and this for me happened about 1.5 years into working life after graduating college. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in English and decided to go into public relations because there's a lot of writing involved in that. So an English degree is pretty compatible with a career in PR. I had done a couple of internships and I was in my first full-time, real full-time job, and I just wasn't enjoying it. So I remember actually I had a conversation with 2 of my friends. We were just talking about career and, that period of figuring out what you want to do. And after that conversation, I was inspired to do some reflecting on my own job. All that really consisted of was making a list of pros and cons, things that I liked and things I didn't like, as well as things that I wanted or things that were lacking in my current career or job. Based on that period of reflecting, and this didn't happen in an hour, it was, over the course of a couple of months, just as I was really processing, I then reconsidered and tried to figure out if it was my career that I didn't enjoy and wanted to change, or if it was just my particular job. Based on my own list of pros and cons and whatever was missing from my career, I think it was pretty clear that I wanted to move out of PR and into something else entirely. As you reflect on your current job position, you might end up reconsidering switching careers and just go to a different company or a different position, because maybe it's not the actual work you're not enjoying, but it's your manager or the team environment. So that's just why it's important to reconsider actually switching careers versus just switching your job. That brings us to step 3, which is research. So based on that list of pros and cons, whether it's an actual list or just a mental list, you would want to find a career that fits what you're looking for. This step might blend in a little bit with the next step, which is plan. And so what I mean by that is I was doing research on different careers and also on master's programs that could potentially supplement my resume as I try to make a career change. Because I knew I was considering grad school, I signed up for the GRE. So I was planning ahead without having done all of my research yet, but I just wanted to cover my bases and save a little bit of time. But going back to this research phase, I had a general sense that I wanted to go into consulting based on my reflection that I did. I know a lot of people from college, a lot of my friends who are consultants or are former consultants. So I started to ask them a lot of questions about what it is that they actually do, what they think I should do in terms of trying to get a job as a consultant. Through those conversations, I learned which of my skills could be transferable, so which ones I should really play up as I'm trying to switch careers. If you're currently doing some research about consulting, I do have a video that gives a very broad overview of what business consulting is, so I will link that in the description box as well if you would like to see that. Step number 4 then is plan. And so I already talked about how I started planning ahead a little bit during my research phase, and I studied and took the GRE. The reason I chose the GRE at that time was because I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to go to business school, specifically for an MBA, but I had researched that most business schools now accept the GRE as well as the GMAT. Typically, the GMAT has always been the standardized test for an MBA program, but most of them accept GRE scores as well. So if I took the GRE, then I could use that to apply to a business school, but also for any other master's programs. So I had a little bit of flexibility there. Also, the GRE tends to be easier than the GMAT, so there's that too. While I knew that I didn't necessarily need a business degree, it could only help my credibility, especially because I didn't have any work experience in consulting. I had a few years of experience working in general, and I had some transferable skills, but I felt that having some sort of business foundation in my education could be helpful, and if anything, just give me a lot more confidence in feeling like I know what I'm talking about. I ended up applying to 3 MBA programs in the US and 3 Masters in Management programs in the UK. I have a few reasons why I applied to master's programs in the UK, so if you want me to do a separate video about that, then please give this video a like. All of these programs that I applied to started accepting applications about 11 months before the programs would start, so I was busy taking my GRE, getting letters of recommendation, writing my personal statement, a long time before I was actually going to start school. This was definitely a busy period in my life because I was working full-time, and then when I would come home, then I would study and do practice tests over the weekend and write out my personal statement in different ways to be tailored to each of the programs. So there was definitely a lot of planning each week, just managing what I had to study and write, as well as my overall career plan. In the end, I decided to do my Master's in Management at University College London, and I have a video all about my degree, so again, that will also be linked. With this degree, I was able to take general business classes like accounting and finance, organizational behavior, business strategy, things that you would probably take as a business major in college, but yeah, I had just never taken those classes before because I majored in English. I initially thought that I might stay and work in London for a few years after getting my degree, so in planning for that, I attended a lot of networking events during my first semester, but nothing really came to fruition out of that. It's also kind of difficult to get a visa in the UK, so I ended up shifting gears and applying to jobs in the US while I was in grad school. So now we are at step 5, which is communicate. And by communicate, I mean tie back all of your previous experience to your potential career. During the second semester of my master's degree, I started talking to the recruiter at the company I now work for. And so I'm actually very lucky that I know somebody who works at this company, and so I was able to get a connection with the recruiter and talk to them. And so do not be ashamed to use your network. You of course want to use your discretion, and you don't want to just be reaching out to people for the sake of reaching out. In my case, I love what the company I now work for does, and I knew that my skills would match, so I had no problem asking for that connection. But going back to communicating why you are the right fit for this job and for this new career, it really all goes back to that first step of reflecting. You want to tell your story in a way that shows why this new career or new job that you are applying for is the right or natural next step in your career journey. And you also want to show why all of the experience you have, while it may not be conventional, are actually the right fit for the position. For me, as I said in the beginning of the video, I'm a change management consultant. I get to work much more closely with companies, focusing on things other than their public image, and really get to make those companies a better place to work for their employees. Not only did the job align with what I wanted out of my career, but my skills in client management, project management, all of that really could transfer over well to this new position. With those transferable skills and even my bachelor's degree, as well as my new master's degree where I had a business foundation, and my personal career goals and my own reflection and story. It just made sense to both me and my employer why this was the right move. So to recap, how I switched careers from PR into consulting was to reflect on my current career in PR and think about what I liked, what I didn't like, what was missing. I then reconsidered and tried to figure out if it was just my job that I needed to change or my entire career. After I decided it was my career I needed to change, I did some research and planning, and then finally was able to communicate why consulting was the right next step in my career. That's it for this video. I know it was a long one, but I hope it was helpful for you. If you are also thinking about switching your career, it can definitely be scary to switch careers, but as long as you have some solid reasons for switching, you have some sort of game plan and can show that you're capable, it doesn't have to be scary. If you like this video, please subscribe for more and let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like me to cover. And if you're wondering what this board says, it says the Offlane Podcast, and that is my brother's podcast about Dota 2. So if you are a gamer and play some Dota 2, then give this podcast a listen. It's pretty short episodes, so not too much investment on your part, but you might have some fun. So just want to give a little shout out there. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.